Hey folks, Frank the Pest Geek here. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. I haven't done a cigar blue chair or anything since probably January, February, March of 2021. And the reason is God life got really hard after that point. To give you a synopsis of those who have not been following me lately, so we're now in November. So I haven't done one of these and had a cigar. I've had several cigars, but to actually sit and have the mental clarity and the time and be able to give something of quality that is going to help you either as a technician, as an employee, as a CSR, as a business owner, as a guy who wants to start up, give you something of value. It's been very hard. In April of 2021, I was going through a separation for months. It's been going on and off for 2 or 3 years. And my mother, I discovered going to the doctor with my mom that she had terminal cancer. And in April, she went into surgery, never recovered, went into hospice at my house. I had to bring her over home. And in May, she passed away. So 30 days after that. July was the divorce. The same day my mother died, my mother passed away, was the last day that one of my technicians was working. Had given me 2 weeks notice, and it was going to be his last week. So ever since then, I've been in the field again. I decided I wasn't going to hire a technician because I'm debating whether I should get rid of Lawn and Ornamental, sell it, do something else with it. We're trying to get certified for termite. I'm going to cut this out. By the way, for those of you, I'm having a CAO America. A CAO America. I'm pairing this with a Buffalo Trace bourbon, which is, I got to admit, it's pretty good. I'm really enjoying that Buffalo Trace. For those of you that haven't had it, Basil Hayden, I've had Basil Hayden. I like it better. I like it better than some of the bourbons I've tried. It's a great little bourbon, so I'm going to enjoy the rest of the afternoon here with you. And we're going to be discussing starting up. We're going to be discussing a lot of things. I've got a new here with my laptop, and let me set it up because I'm going to be going over a bunch of statistics and numbers with you. But a 12 Ds of successfully achieving anything you want in life, pretty much. We're not going to succeed at everything we wish we could do. I wish I could be an astronaut. I'm not. I'm not going to be an astronaut. No matter how hard I try, I'm never going to play in the NFL. No matter how hard I try, I probably will never build a $1 billion company. But we can achieve most of the things we really want in life. Decent pay, a decent home, enjoy our family, have a decent car, have the American dream life of middle America, or even above that. We don't have to stay in the bottom 20% or the bottom 10% or the bottom 9%. There are some things in your life. I'm going to light this. This is really good. The things you want to achieve, which is the average stuff, becomes very difficult to a lot of people. And the reason is you got to develop soft skills. These are skills that can be learned. Some of them are innate. They're part of your DNA, of your core makeup. They're taught to you as kids by your parents. Some develop them over decades of work. And the military is a great place to develop these skills. The biggest challenge that we have as small business owners is, in most cases, we don't have the time, which equates to money, to develop a lot of people that already don't have the soft skills. We can develop them in the hard skills: how to inspect, how to perform pest control, how to understand the chemistry. The technical part of the business we can definitely train on, which is what we should do. But training people on the 12 D's that I'm going to be discussing, and I always got another podcast coming, which are the 9 I's. You're going to see a theme coming here. I just sit there sometimes, and this thing just comes to me. It downloads, and then I start writing it out, discerning it, and for a couple of weeks I've been messing with this. The D's. I did a podcast in the back, the 5 D's, triple D's. Now we're up to 12. And these are soft skills. In other words, when you're a kid and your parents teach you to make your bed, to throw out the trash, to do chores around the house, to help out, to help clean, to help mow the lawn. Work ethic used to be taught at home. Work ethic was taught at home because most people worked on farms. They had a very tough life. And what I've noticed, being 50 years old, 51 now, gives me an advantage of looking back. Those of you that are in 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s that are listening to me understand this better, and you have a better perspective. I'm trying to deal with the young generation that we need to raise up to be the workforce that we need, be the laborers that we need, be the technicians, the call center people, the managers, even the future business owners that they're going to start up. And kids are starting up businesses earlier than it used to be, when it used to be in the 50s. People today, like, oh my God, I'm not going to start a business at 50. I'm done. I only got 15 more years before I'm supposed to retire. Like, retirement at 65 is mandated somewhere. I'm not going to start up because I'm too old. When the average person used to start up after 50, 55, 60, 65. Why? There was an enormous amount of work ethic, experience. They were experts in their fields. They became experts, then they decided to do it for themselves. Retirement wasn't going to work out for them. And we have people starting up younger, now in their 32 to 38, versus they used to be that 48 to 50 something. And I hire mostly millennials, and now late millennials, bordering on Generation Z. Why? Because the reality is that 50% of us started in this business when we were somewhere between the ages of 18 and 25. That's the reality. Those are the numbers. When you do the polls, you look at the numbers, when did we start out? The average age of a pest control technician in America right now is 41. So we need young people to be interested in pest control because it is a fascinating career. I come from IT, sales management, and I fell in love with pest control because it challenged me. It allows me to use my insatiable curiosity that I have for things. I am a great diagnostician. I've always been a great troubleshooter, no matter what industry I was in. In pest control, I find that I can find the problems of where most people miss it. I just had one, I'm going to post a video about it and you'll see it, where my tech missed it. I called him up and said, bro, you missed it. That customer was right. He said, dang it. He doesn't have the experience I do. He doesn't have the life experience I do. He doesn't have my personality. So when he does it 96, 94, 99% of the way, I'm tickled to death all the time. I don't complain about my people because my people do it right most of the time. We're not dealing with the 80-20, we're dealing with way above that. So when they're being successful in that 96, 97, 98, 99% of the time, and I only have to get involved really, 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 because most of the time I can coach them on the phone through it of what to look for, is that 1%. So I am always excited about that because I'm not a perfectionist, I'm an idealist. And that is just as bad as detrimental to growth as you can be. I've learned to expect less from people, and including expect less from myself, because I am my worst critic. The things that I will put on myself, I never expect from other people. I'm not a perfectionist that gets disappointed when people let them down, because I understand people are going to let me down. It's when I let myself down that I really struggle. And these 12 Ds are vital for you to succeed in no matter what you're going to do in life. So it isn't just for pest control people, it's for any person that wants to achieve anything. But I want to focus it on business startup, business growth, personal development, and what happens. I want to talk about the first D, which is dreaming. Dreams. When you're 51 years old, a lot of your dreams have been crushed in life. You've had dreams, all kinds of dreams. It's not just one particular dream. Dream of having a successful marriage. Dream of having a successful business. Dreams of a career that you wish you could have done, but you didn't. And what I've learned is that just because I failed at something doesn't mean I can't be happy and I can't be successful at something else that I never thought I was going to be interested in. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'm going to be 15 years in pest control. I was never 15 years in anything. My longest job that I worked for a company lasted for 4 years. Never did anything for longer than 4 years. Most of my jobs were 1 to 4 years. I'm almost like a millennial that I didn't have time to stick around and wait for you to make up your mind on how you were going to do things. Whether you were going to grow the business, whether you were going to give me the promotion, whether you were going to give me the raise, whether you didn't come through with what you were promising. I sniffed it out really quick and I said, I'm wasting my time. So I don't have a problem with most millennials that are going to be here today and gone tomorrow because things aren't moving at their pace. Or understand that I'm idealistic. I understand them. I've been working for 25 years with kids and youth in ministry. I still am in some way. My ministry has changed. I'm now ministering to people. And I realized that I met a lady, and I'll tell you this because this is really intimate and personal. I was at the Paul J. Bello conference, and I won't mention who she is because I don't know if she wants to be mentioned. So I'll keep that to myself. But she listens to me, and she has all her technicians listen to me. And she runs a really big business. This is like 30 people company. I mean, they're very successful. There's no reason why she needs advice from me. I need advice from her. Her and her husband, they own multiple businesses. And she said, I don't see you growing your pest control business. By the way, she's also a very strong believer in Christ. And she hit me between the eyes at the conference and said, I don't see you growing a pest control business large. I see you teaching people and helping people grow and teaching, and you're a teacher. And I know that. I've known that. She's not the first person that's prophesied that's seen it in me. Everyone around me has seen it in me, and I've seen it in me. And I know that's where I'm headed. My business, she says, your business is more like an incubator, a testing ground for you to test stuff. And it is. I've said this before. So she nailed me. She got it right. And I love her for it because she took the risk of being that honest and that blunt with me and helped me realize where my gifts are. So The fact that I can lead people and I can manage them and I can grow things. I am not a business person. I'm more of a salesperson. I am an entrepreneur because I undertook the task and I've succeeded for 15 years. And we're still growing and I plan to grow, but I'm growing more organically and more slowly. Going back to some of my old roots, going back to things that work for me. I tried different things that the gurus told me. It's not that they're wrong. Understand that the gurus aren't wrong. Everybody is right in what they're asserting, wrong in what they're denying. But understanding me that I am self-aware of who I am, what things I feel comfortable with, what things I'm not going to compromise on based on my biblical principles. That doesn't mean that if you're a biblical person, you can't grow a business. Give me a second here. But I have a different. I've taken a long road with a business model that is for the 1% of customers. That is an holistic IPM. What we do is basically, hey, look, what you do in hospitals, what you do in surgical rooms, what you do in labs, what you do in high-level facilities, we bring it to the home. There's no secret. We incorporate that with 25B products and reduced risk products and minimum risk products and the lowest toxicity methods. And it's very time-consuming and very expensive. Chemical is cheaper than labor. When we do landscape RPM, it takes a lot of discipline to stay where I'm at and not be moved by what everybody else is doing or what the growing company is doing, what this guy's doing, and sticking to my guns and saying, I know I'm succeeding. I'm okay. Financially, I'm okay. I'm not swimming in money, but I'm not dying either. And I'm okay. And I have a dream of where I want my business to go, what I want to be as a catalyst, and I want to, the next 10 years, take IPM and take holistic pest control and make holistic pest control a household name. It's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, a lot of persistence, a lot of determination, things that I'm going to be talking about that it takes. So when I have a dream, my dream might not make me a multimillionaire. It will pave the way for other people, and that's the legacy I'll leave because I'm content and happy with that. I'm not content and happy with being a multimillionaire. I'm content and happy teaching people, watching people grow, educating, being a catalyst for change, and being a pioneer in certain things. I enjoy it. Pioneers get burned. I realize that. I understand the game. Dreaming is so important. This is why nobody's been able to deter me. You've been listening to me for 7 years. Why I've stuck to this business for 15 years. Why because I had a dream. And the dream has allowed me to have this new home. The dream has allowed me to do a lot of things. Help people grow. The letters and the phone calls that I received. Listen to one of my podcasts that I have is Are You Creating? And it's I have a link to it. Let me see here. I think it is called. Oops, I lost this paper. I got a fan going because there's mosquito out here. And yes, I'm installing an Into-Care. I just got this place. It's going to be 3 weeks. I just installed Into-Care, which is working the best for us. For those of you that want to know, we're using it in combination with a bait product. Where did I put it? Geez. Anyway, I received more calls on that podcast about how they heard it and they decided to start up because, yes, it was called breeding your competition. Are you breeding your own competition? And most people are breeding their own competition by the way they treat people. You treat people like crap. Don't pay them what you said you were going to pay them. Have no management skills. Keep them down. Don't help them grow. And you're going to breed your competition. Simple. Be a human being. Treat people with dignity, respect. honor what you say, help them grow, and watch how people help you. Not everyone's going to stick around. 90% of people are going to quit. They're going to leave. They're going to move on. They have to look after their interests. They have to feed their families. They have to look at their opportunities and their dreams and goals. You know, the biggest thing I hear from owners is, I just can't get people to work as hard as I am. Newsflash. It's not going to happen, bro. Give it up. Nobody's going to have a vested interest in your business the way you have a vested interest in your business. No employee is going to do that. Got to keep puffing on this thing because it's going to shut off on me. But my employee left me because during COVID, he lost some hours. He had integrity and work ethic. He wasn't going to go on unemployment. They offered him a job paying him $1 more an hour with guaranteed 40 hours. At the time, I was going through the divorce, dealing with my mother, being sick, you know, having to deal with my children, needing more time for my children. Work-life balance doesn't exist when you own a business. That's the biggest fallacy. The thing is, you have more control over the time that you put in, but you don't have a work-life balance. I still put in 50 hours a week, down from 60, 70, and 80. I'm cutting it back to enjoy myself more. I get it. I'm still driving. I'm a hard-driven person, which is one of the 4Ds. Because I'm driven, it is very hard to put the brakes on me. But the number one reason people want to start their own business is they want control over their work. They don't have autonomy in a lot of work. In other words, a technician doesn't have a lot of autonomy in his work. The schedules are planned out. Here's your schedule for the day. Go knock these jobs out. The customer called in the last minute. You get something thrown on your route. I try to limit that for my people because I know how frustrating it can be when they're planning already. Hey, I'm going to be done by 4 o'clock. I'm going to be done by 5. Oh, by the way, can you go and take care of this? And now they're done by 6. They want the work-life balance. The problem is when you own a business, it isn't 9 to 5 and cut it off. It's maybe 9 to 2, and then you take off for a couple hours, deal with your kids and all that. And then at 4, you're 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 1, 2 in the morning. You're still working. But because you're doing it for yourself, you're being totally selfish at this point, and there's nothing wrong with being selfish. People tell me all the time, it says, I would put in those hours if it was my business, but not for him because I'm not going to make him rich. You're being totally selfish. Is that wrong? No. That's a perfectly normal human emotion. And I talk with owners all the time, and they're like frustrated with their people that they don't want to work the hours that they work. They're not going to. Get over it. The thing with me is I was working the 50 hours a week when I was 21. The reason I left IT and didn't want to be an IT technician and didn't want to be a field technician back then, because I had no control over my time. A computer would go down on Sunday afternoon. I'd be having dinner with my wife at the time. Yeah. And at 6 o'clock at night, inevitably, a computer would go down in West Palm Beach. And back then, there was no internet. You couldn't solve it online. You had to drive your little butt over there an hour and a half, which meant I wasn't probably getting home till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. This is 21 years old, by the way. Oh, I was doing college full time, taking on 12 hours of college, married, and making more money than people with bachelor's degree graduating. It didn't mean anything because I never had time. As a 21-year-old, my weekends were studying. My evenings were working. When I had an update, I had to be in my office till 1 in the morning that day. Every time we had an update, because I had to make sure all those computers updated. This was when we had modems, 14 4K modems. And I had to make sure the systems were going to run the next day. And then if it didn't update, I knew I had to be in that store at 7 o'clock that morning. So I slept for about 4 hours. I had work ethic, but I've been working since I was 10 years old. It's my DNA. My daughter is the same way. I don't have to tell her to want to work. She's already discussing where she's going to work when she's 16. We're having this discussion. She's 11. I'm going to go work here. I'm going to go work there. I'm going to go do this because I want to make my money. Not every kid is that way. In 2018, one study showed that 64% of Americans want to make their dream of owning a business. 62% of Americans say they want to own their business. In 2020, 4.3 million applications to start a business were filed in the U.S. Guess how much that is? That's 1.3%. And that's up 24% from last year, by the way, because COVID and people being home and being not working and not doing things. Some people were really smart. Some people said, yeah, I'm going to take the unemployment money and I'm going to go and start my own business with that unemployment. I'm going to take that time, those 2 years that I got 1 year of unemployment, and go start my business. I applaud you for it. I applaud you for it. The government gave away the money. That's their fault. That's not your fault. And you were smart enough. The Bible says to be shrewd as a snake and gentle as a dove. The fact that you took the money and you invested a year that time down and used it to buffer and start your own business, I applaud you for that. Everybody should have done it, except they stayed home watching TV, Jerry Springer all day, why they spend their time on Facebook, complaining on Facebook that there are no opportunities in this world. Why you sat your ass at home for a whole year, bringing in more money than I bought in most years when I had a business, than most people are making, and you're still whining about how unfair life is. You're the bottom 9% of America that will bitch, complain, moan about everything. No matter what happens, nothing's ever going to be good enough because you are the marginalized percentage that refuses to take the 12 Ds and do something with it. So, in 2019, 10.6% of Americans actually own a business. 89.4% of people work for somebody else. There is a disconnect between the dream and what it's going to take to actually make that dream a reality. The fact that only 3% of Americans start a business every year, 50% of those will fail. The reason they will fail is because they don't have the capital to keep it going, which it isn't really an excuse today because most people start home-based businesses. Online, in their field. So the overhead is really low. You just need to make sure that your monthly expenses are covered. Which, for the bottom 20%, that's almost impossible, except the bottom 20% took a bunch of money that they could have invested. If you would have taken that $1,800 check you got, instead of doing something stupid like buying an Apple Watch and a television, you would have invested it in cryptocurrency, you would have had double the money right now. But you didn't do that. So people want to start because they want control over their work. They want meaningful work. Most people feel that the work they're doing isn't meaningful for who they're doing it for. In other words, companies haven't done a great job of creating a culture of explaining what they do and why their work is so important. Why my brand is so important and why Pest Geek is so important and why Nature Pest is so important is because we actually care about the things that most people care about. I care about people's well-being. I care about the environment. I care about the environment in people's homes. I care about that kids don't have bed bugs biting them. I care that they don't have roaches that cause asthma. There's a purpose to my business, why I'm fanatical about doing what I do, why I talk about IPM so much, why I'm fanatical about it, because it does have a purpose. And why I spend all my time communicating the purpose of what we do and why we do it. Because I want to attract the best people. I want to pay the best people. I want their work to be meaningful. Why? when my employees communicate with me that they need a day off or they need an afternoon off or they need to leave early, I don't keep stacking crap on their route, not listening to them. Because if you call me and said on Friday my friend is coming in, which often happens, and said, bro, I need to take some time off because he's coming in and when I'm going to spend the weekend together and we want to do this, that, and the other, I said, bro, I'll make sure nothing else gets added to your route. I'll move it till next Monday. I'll tell the client. I'm a salesman. I can sell that customer says, listen, we're booked solid. I can't serve you till Monday. And most of them, guess what? 80% of them say, okay. 90-something% say, okay. They never say no. I'm not afraid of losing that client. They want control over their finances. They want to make more money. And if you are a retail clerk, if you work in a front job at a supermarket, that's a dead-end job. Unless you can have the 12 Ds, and then you can move into management, and there's some great organizations. Not every organization is bad. But a lot of things aren't a fit for you because if you're younger, you haven't developed yet into your 20s and now into your 30s, you haven't developed these soft skills that make you valuable. It isn't a college degree that makes you valuable. It's your soft skills that make you valuable. The reason I'm able to move up in every company is I am the sink or swim type of guy. There's a book by Tom Peters written back in the 80s that I read when I was in college called Thriving on Chaos. I was the guy that thrives on chaos. When things were messed up in the company, I could immediately see where the problem is, step in. While everybody's jumping ship, I can step up. The reason why I got promoted over the guy that was there 4 or 5 years and he was pissed as hell because he had a bachelor's degree and I didn't is because I was the sink or swim guy. I made things happen when everybody else was complaining about it. Most people are not sink or swim. And most sales organizations and most pest control organizations that are growing are sink or swim organizations. Everybody that I talk to that is growing their pest control right now, that they're telling me, oh, we made it to the Inc. 5000 of fastest growing companies. Their turnover rate is 60%, 80%, 100% every year because they're sink or swim. All the effort is being put into marketing and sales. Very little is going to employee training, employee satisfaction, because the CSRs think it is their job to please the owner and keep piling stuff on the technicians. And the technicians are like, dude, we're running around. It's raining. We're all day in the field. And you got another customer that wants something, and that's 38-minute drive for me. If you think I'm not listening, I'm listening to you. Why? Because I own a business. I'm in the field. I'm doing this. I know what the time it takes, how much I can produce in a day physically. On top of that, I'm getting 12 calls a day. We're changing our phone system. The one we have is crap to help us manage. Now we can integrate text, email. We can integrate our website right on my phone with the phone number and a phone managed from the road versus having to be in the office. One of the things that I'm not liking about Pest Routes is that I don't have a way to manage it on my phone, be able to schedule something very quickly while I'm on the road. It's designed to have to be in an office environment it was great when I was in the office all day. For 2 years, I wasn't in the field. I was only in the field for a couple hours a day, covering whatever my techs couldn't do. So that's the reason why people want to start up. There's another reason, and it's the media. The media has made it seem like everybody in the world is unhappy. AP Newswire. I'm going to put links, by the way. I'm going to put links to all this in the notes so you'll have access to all these reports. I've got the notes right here that I'm creating. 14% of American adults say they're very happy. The media will spin that and say, 76% of adults, or 86% of adults are completely miserable. Well, that's not true. In a report on CNBC, says, sadly, less than 50% of U.S. workers feel that they're in good jobs. There is a nexus between the quality of one's job and the overall quality of a person's life. While the number of workers in good, mediocre jobs rate their overall quality of life as high, most of those in bad jobs feel the contrary. What? So my quality of life is high, but I don't really like what I'm doing. That's in a Forbes. 85% of respondents are either somewhat or very satisfied with their jobs. Meaningfulness was the biggest contributor to overall happiness. Again, you're doing a job that you're happy with because it says 85% are either somewhat or very satisfied. In other words, because you're not completely happy, the media will spin it and say, this is on a national survey. All right, so starting a business because you're unhappy is not a reason. If there's no purpose for why you're starting the business, there is no market interest for it, you don't know how to sell it, you don't know how to market it, you're going to fail. This is why most businesses fail. So we're talking now about in this COVID slash, I'm going to put a quote here, post-COVID epidemic, where we went through the shock and awe of it. We're still worried about it. Most people, 50-something%, are still worried about, losing, their health or something over it. That's not a reason to go out and start a business right now. Here's the other one that is being talked about now in the media, and it's employee burnout. Yes, there is such a thing as employee burnout. I've been burned out. I've been burned out in my career more than once. I burned out so bad one time, it was unreal. But I was working 100 hours a week. And the company that I was building that store for decided, because an analyst sitting behind a desk, a little twerp up in Phoenix, decided that I was gaming the system to get bonuses. When my boss says, you need to stop working so many hours. But I took a store that had never made money and made it profitable in 6 months. And then I got fired. He didn't have the balls to come himself and fire me when he hired me, and I moved out of Florida to go over there and run this company. He sent his assistant manager. That guy walked in with tears in his eyes because he knew how hard I worked and how dedicated I was and how I audited that store and how the audits came back that nothing was missing, nothing was wrong, and that we were actually making money. And I handed the keys to him and I said, I've done nothing wrong. I walk out with my head high. Didn't even say a word. So do I know what it's like to be stabbed in the back while being an employee, devoting 100 hours a week, 100 hours, building something for somebody else, and then being told that you're a liar and a thief when you weren't because of some little analyst? Or when you devote 4 years of your life for minimum pay as a youth pastor, and the pastor decides he's going to stab you in the back and kick you out because he felt threatened of your leadership and had to tell the parents that he was the pastor and I wasn't? Yeah, I know all about that, guys. I know all about not being appreciated. That didn't stop me because I had the 12 Ds in my life. Doesn't deter me. Did that shake my faith in Christ? No, it didn't. I realized the man is flawed. The man was trying to get his son, and this is the thing that happens in small businesses where nepotism is rampant, where the son, couldn't hold anything, couldn't accomplish anything in his life, and daddy had to take care of him, and because you told him his son was a loser, you got crucified. But that's the way I am. I tell you, you ask me, I tell you what you don't want to hear, whether you want to hear it or not. But I'm extremely transparent. And that's when I walked out and I started this company. That church today no longer exists. It went under. I'm thriving in spite of being kicked in the nuts, being backstabbed. So yeah, I know all about that. When you come and talk to me about not being appreciated at work and all this, I said, find another job, dude. I get it. Being a frontline guy at McDonald's, unless you have a great manager, is not a career. Not unless you aspire to be an assistant manager or a manager. So when we look at these statistics and we look at the report, understand that the news media is hell-bent on showing the worst. They're actually, I think the news media is anti-American. Burnouts affect 84% of millennials. When I was in business and I was growing up in the business world, we didn't sit around and say, I feel burned out. I was so exhilarated about what we were doing and what we were accomplishing. I was running on adrenaline. I know what it's like to have adrenal fatigue. I know what it's like to wake up one morning and say, I'm not getting out of bed today. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to work for the next week or the next month, and be totally burned out. This is a chronic problem with driven people and perfectionists and idealists. We can be very manic, and then we burn out. 70%, nearly half of all millennials say they have left their job because they felt burned out, compared to 42% of all respondents. Millennials have the highest rate of burnout. And I think it has to do with parenting. I've been dealing with youth for 25 years. I sat in the conferences with the parents who tell their kids, go ahead and just devote yourself to school and study. And they don't let them do anything. When I go into a home and we do pest control, and it's like, I'm sorry about my son's room. He just refuses to clean his room. I'm like, who the hell is the adult here? Who's the parent? If we have a messed up youth, it's because we have messed up parents. That's the reality. We can't blame the generation for the mistakes the parents made. Now we have to reap that and deal with it and figure out how we move on and how we deal with all these challenges as business owners and embrace it and say, this is just the way it is, and accept it. I had a conversation with another business owner. I'm having a lot of conversations with business. I get so many calls from people wanting to talk about their problems they're having, because I can't believe I got to create a training system that teaches a guy, how to do this step because he can't figure it out. I have to have it. Are people really this stupid? I feel so tired of having to tell people what to do. I said, you got to have a training program and everything. The guy puts his backpack in the back seat of the car and it leaks. Spill training. You got to have it. Yet, when I look at the numbers, yet more than 70% of workers say they don't feel satisfied with their career choice. And I believe we have a serious epidemic on our hands. This is from Psychology Today. I got links to all this. You can read it. You know what's funny? When you look at the satisfaction of overall people, one report says they don't feel satisfied with career among contemplating divorce. There's a growing number of unhappy married couples. You know what the reality is? There's the same number of people who say they're unsatisfied in their marriage. It's about the same as people who say they're unsatisfied in their work. And the fact that more millennials are alone today and live alone and have lonely lives, that's a reality that we have to deal with. And so when you look at people being satisfied, here's another one. Yet 77% said they're extremely happy and plan to continue running their business. Yet, here when we get to business ownership, let's get into business ownership. 77% of people that responded. So the same people that are unhappy working for somebody else, 77% of people that own business said they're very happy. Even with 54% who say they were working more hours than they did this year than last, 65% reported that they work at least every weekend. Now, when we look at a news, and this is why I think the news is hell-bent. The news is hell-bent on, because remember that misery loves company, and you're in the business of selling news. Good news doesn't sell. If good news would sell, we would have a channel devoted to good news. The fact news that the bad news sells. Misery loves company. Human nature is to want to get together, whine, complain, and bitch and moan about everything in life, especially now that social media is available. I'm happy because I smoke cigars, I own a business, and I have a drink once in a while. And my little brothers and sisters who are sitting there being all judgmental and critical, oh my God, he's smoking a cigar and he's having a drink and he says that he's a Christian. Yeah, you're a gossip. And you are a hater. And the Bible says you're not getting into heaven either. Go read it. This is CNBC. U.S. workers are among the most stressed in the world. Gallup report finds. So I went and I said, okay, let me look at the Gallup report. Go down here. There's a link to it. The latest state of the global workplace. So when I look at the latest state of the workplace in America, by the way, the reason most people aren't going to read this report and these studies is because they're 190 and 200 pages long. You much rather read the synopsis of it and agree with it than to look down and drill into the data, where it shows and it gives you an executive summary. 45% of people say their life has been affected a lot by the coronavirus. No shit. Really? Really, we needed a freaking report to tell us that 45% of people's lives have been affected by COVID. Everybody's life has been affected by COVID. Dumbass. 50% of workers receive less money than usual on their from their employer or business. Yeah, because sales went into the toilet and people had to borrow money. We had to borrow money to keep people working, and in turn, they still left. 49% of workers worked fewer hours on their job or business, meaning that you made less money, you're unhappy. 53% of workers temporarily stopped working at their job or business. 32% of workers lost their job or business. Yes, that has been a reality of COVID. Everybody is stressed. Small business owners are stressed. When the average pest control company in America, I think, is 7 employees or less right now. It's under 10 employees for sure. And you lose one of them or 2 people didn't show up to work, guess what? Everybody in that business is stressed, including the owner, because he has to jump in a van and go do it. But he's happy because, he made a lot of money this year. He's happy. When you decided as an employee, because you didn't feel like it today, because you were stressed and you needed your safe space, and you decided that you weren't showing up to work, and you were in a 10-man company, and 2 people didn't show up to work, the other 8 resent you for it. And they're hurting. And you caused it. That's a reality. Because I was there at the company doing consulting when they had to fire their service manager that day. 2 people didn't show up, and the techs were screaming, going, I went to sleep last night, saw that I had 10 stops. I wake up in the morning and there's 13 stops. How am I supposed to, plan my day to be home early? And I said, you know whose fault that was? The two guys that called in sick. Why are you mad at the CSR? The CSR is going, I had to put them somewhere. We had to take care of these customers. They don't want to call the customer back and say, I'm sorry, but your technician called in sick and we have to cancel your service today. We'll see you next week. Next week, when that guy comes back and he was already depressed because he had such a big workload, now he has an even bigger workload. Welcome to running your own business. Welcome to working for a small business. Unless you have 30 people, 2 can call in sick and very few people are going to feel it. When you have 5 people and 1 person calls in sick, somebody just got a 30% workload increase. This is what people are frustrated with, the frontline workers. I get it, you're frustrated. I'm frustrated. I got to deal with it. I got to tell people, but you were supposed to show up today and you didn't. That's right. We had to cancel the route and we're going to put you to next week. Done. That's the way it is. When you work for a small company and there's only 3 of you, and there's the owner, his wife, and 2 technicians, and one of you calls in sick, somebody's got to pick up the 33% slack that you just messed up. So when you're dreaming about starting your own business, you got to look at all this stuff and say, do I start a business that only depends on me? Great. What if I get sick? What if I get COVID? What if I have to be out? Where's the money going to come from? They're hard realities. So when I look at this and I look at this Gallup study and I look at 20% of employees are engaged at work, that means 80% of people don't feel engaged. Is that because the boss is crabby? Or is that because you just don't know how to have one of the 12 Ds? That you haven't developed the skills to be engaged yourself. In other words, do you have to wait till somebody gives you the work and tells you, here's the problem, can you fix this? Or do you see the problem and you just fix it? I'm the latter. Remember, I'm that sink or swim guy. You want to start a business, you better develop some 12 Ds. We look at 32% of employees are thriving. That means that 68% are thriving. They're just doing their job, going home, existing. 41% of employees experience worry during a lot of the previous day. Yes. And you know what the stats say? That between 80 and 90% of the things you worry about in life will never happen. Why don't you look at that statistic about worry? Bible says, cast all your fears upon the Lord. The Bible says, do not worry for anything, but in everything, bring everything to God in prayer and thanksgiving. You know what thankfulness does for you on a daily basis? When you wake up in the morning, you said, and you looked into the room and your son is still alive, when your wife is still alive, when you're still alive, and nothing happened, and you wake up that day being thankful. The problem is too many people are just unthankful. They don't wake up in the morning being thankful that they actually have a job, that they have a roof over their head, that they have food. When we are one of the most prosperous nations in the country, there's so many people just depressed and angry because somehow they don't have the latest Apple Watch. Only in America could you live in the ghetto, live in Section 8 HUD housing, and have a $1,200 iPhone. Only in America. The reason that us immigrants don't have a lot of those problems is we see the struggle that our people and our family members struggle in Cuba and in Central America and South America, where most of them live in a place that is my outside patio. And I enjoy my outside patio. Perspective on what it is that you have and what to be thankful for. So we look at all this, we look at these statistics. 43 of them expressed stress during a lot of the previous day. No crap. The customer called. I'm driving and I come home so stressed that I have to literally unwind and say, I'm not answering another call today. That's it. I'm done. Because it's been 10 calls while I'm driving, while I'm trying to get to the next stop, is the guy texting me and saying, when is your tech going to be here? I've been waiting all morning. I said, I told you it was between 10 and 12. It's 10:15 and he's calling me. While Comcast will give you a 4-hour window, and AT&T gives you a 3-hour window. And we have this society of everybody expecting an instant download. Guess what? COVID just shot everybody in the ass. I had a call center answering my calls. The reason I hired them is because I wanted a live person to answer my call. 60% of our calls weren't answering. They were being dropped. Why? Because when somebody waited 8 minutes on the phone to get somebody to call, answer their call, I had to take all that back. Let's talk about stress of a business owner. Let's talk about it. I'm trying to run my route because my guy quit. My mother died. I got a divorce, and I'm having to run a business. Do you think I'm stressed? I talked to the CSR, my account rep, and I said, listen, our cars aren't getting answered, man. And says, here's the reason. During the last year, most people lost employees. The increase for call centers has increased, and we can't hire the people. We're taking on more customers. They're saying, see, here's the thing. When you got a sales-driven organization, you will take on the customer knowing you can't serve them. What's going to happen is guys like me will drop off, and they will be able to, keep the customers that stay. It's that simple. It's an 80-20 rule. Well, they weren't able to hire people because nobody can hire. Nobody wants to work, but they're still taking on the accounts. They can't service the account, but they're taking it on. So I took it back. We changed our phone system. Now we're going to have a more automated system to handle some of this experience where we can text more with the client, have automated texting reply to the client. But I don't want to speak with a bot. Get used to it. That's the new way. You're not going to have people answering the phone. You can't hire them. You're not going to get an instant response from me on a Sunday afternoon when you decide you want to call me on a Sunday and have me respond to you. I'm not going to respond to you. Today I'm doing a podcast. It's Saturday. I cleaned my fence and I did it this morning. And I'm taking time off. I'm not going to work 100 hours a week anymore. We raised our prices, so now we only need half the clients. Simple solution. It's simple supply and demand. I have a product that people want. There's only so many of us doing it in the state, in the city. There's only about 2 companies doing what I do out of 400. 24% of employees experience anger during a lot of the previous day. Yeah, 24%. That means that 76% did not. Small percentage of people we're talking about, yet we're so unhappy. When I look at business statistics and I look at number, 75% of my people are happy. The dream of starting a business and why 1.3% actually do it is because it's much easier to go work for somebody else and complain about all these statistics. And everybody sits around the water cooler complaining about the boss. And yes, there are bad bosses. I've worked for some bad bosses. Most of the bosses I work for are good. I left because the business didn't meet my challenges. Because I'm driven. Because because I'm a leader, because I'm a teacher, because I'm a trainer, I got promoted every time. I went to go work for the company where I became the Eastern Region contract sales manager. And I started there for $9 an hour as a temp. Answering calls, negotiating invoices after they were done. I had 4 other colleagues, and I started coaching them and teaching them how to be more successful handling these calls. That wasn't my job. I wasn't being paid for that. I'm leadership material, so therefore I step up to the plate and I lead because I'm a leader, not because I was being paid. It's in my DNA. You can't stop me from doing it. When I hear somebody say, that's not my job, I don't want to do that, excellent, bro. Somebody's going to step up to the plate, and when you're here for 6 years, you think, but I deserve that promotion because I've been here the longest. No, but he actually steps up to the plate, and you don't. What do you want me to tell you? Go cry to your mother. I ended up taking a position from the guy who had a bachelor's degree, and he got put in another department. I got given his permission. He goes, how much do you want? He wants to hire you full time after 3 months. Name your price. And I became the regional manager. I went from 0 to $13 million in business. Negotiated in 4 years. Because I'm a sink or swim guy. Because I teach other people. Because I step up to the plate. Because I do. The 25% that are experiencing all this, people need to do something else. We're going to get to that. Because the dream about you starting it, and we could go on with this, and I don't want to bore you with all these statistics, but when you drill down to them, on August, how many hours are people working? On average, people are working 44 hours a week. 35 to 44% are working 43 hours a week. 45 to 59% are working 25 hours a week. 60% are working 16 hours a week. So nobody, not a whole lot of people are working 80 hours a week. You're drilling out into all this data. You know what it tells me? That over 75% of people are satisfied with their job. You're reading everywhere that everybody's dissatisfied because they took one statistic from that entire 190 pages and found one area, one little thing, and decided to spin the negative. I'm going to recommend, if you want to start a business, to read 5 books before you even decide to start the business. If you're contemplating the idea, but I want to know what business to start, you're asking the wrong question. You're asking the wrong question. Start E-Myth and read E-Myth of what you're going to run into. And E-Myth tells you and takes that Band-Aid off and rips it off about what you're going to experience as a business owner and how you get around that. Profit first. How do you take profit first out of your business? See, all owners are interested in is profit. Yes, that's right. Because profit is not a bad word. The government wants you to be profitable, but they only tax us on profit. They don't tax us on income. I get taxed on income, not my business. My business gets taxed on profit. Clockwork by Malkowitz about creating systems and scaling up. I recommend you read those books before you even start. You're asking the wrong question. Start with why. The book, start with why. Why do you want to start a business? Is what you should be doing. When I look at the other, there's another one here that's great. This is from Gallup also. U.S. workers the least happy with their work and pay. That's the title. Okay? The physical safety and conditions of your workplace, 73% are very satisfied, completely satisfied. I'm gonna read this statistic. You know why I'm gonna read this statistic? Because you're not gonna go and look for it. You're gonna believe what you're reading. You know what I found on Facebook? I got a lot of friends on Facebook, almost 4,000. It is that 1 to 2 guys, literally 1 to 2 guys, that are bitching and moaning. When you have a conversation with them, you realize that these are the guys who are the 20-somethings that have no idea what they're going to do with their life and their business. But yet they have an answer for everything. They got a statistic, they got a report, they got something, they're very intellectual. It's the guy that knows how to make love to a woman, but yet he's still a virgin. He can't get it up. He suffers from erectile dysfunction. That is miserable. He feels incapacitated. Listen to this. 73% are extremely happy. 19% are somewhat satisfied. Only 8% of people are totally dissatisfied with their job. 8%. Yet we have a report saying that the majority of Americans are dissatisfied with their work. Your relationship with coworkers, 69% are completely satisfied, 25% are somewhat satisfied, 5% are dissatisfied. The amount of vacation time you receive, 54% are completely satisfied, 20% are dissatisfied, 20% are totally dissatisfied. And let me tell you something. When you start working for a company, they say you got to wait a year before you can take 1 week of vacation. Maybe at 6 months you can take a week of vacation. But when you work for a 5-person company, it can't happen. That's not reality. When you go work for yourself, I want to see how much vacation time you're going to take off in the first 5 years of your business. Because I took 0 in the first 5 years. I couldn't take a vacation. I couldn't take off. So if you think you're complaining about not having vacation time now, wait until you own your own business. Is your dream big enough? Because my dream has sustained me through this process. Is your dream big enough? Flexibility of your hours. 60% say they're satisfied, 26% say they're somewhat satisfied, 15% are totally dissatisfied. We're dealing with the total dissatisfied margins, and we're making business decisions based on the 15%, the 8%, the 9% that are totally satisfied. Those are the people I'm never going to hire in my business because you don't have the disciplines. I'm not deceived by the data because I will look at the data. I will look at the data. Your boss or intimate supervisor, 54% they're happy, 28% are somewhat happy, 11%. Your job security, 49% are satisfied, somewhat satisfied, 15% aren't. The recognition you receive at work for your work accomplishment, 46%. 32% are somewhat, 19% are totally dissatisfied. You know what? That's an easy fix. Start recognizing people for the work they're doing. Take time off during the day. Hey, I appreciate what you're doing. It doesn't cost you anything to show appreciation, but we get so bogged down with the business and the problems and all the things we have to solve that we don't have a lot of the time. And so many people want to be coddled. This is the marginalized percentage that was so coddled, that got 10th place trophies, that mom never required anything of them, that dad wasn't around. They didn't get the affirmation. Shame on you if you're a father and you're not spending time, because I struggle with that. But you know what? I pick up my kid from school every single day. And I have. On Thursdays, it used to be Wednesdays. On Thursdays, I go on a date with my daughter. Most days, when I was married, I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Or at least 2 meals with my wife. Or at least 1. We had a date night. You're going to have to, there's no work-life balance. You're going to have to balance it. It doesn't happen. It's not automatic. The health insurance benefits your employer offers, 35%. 22 are somewhat satisfied. 31% are dissatisfied. You know why? Because it's freaking expensive. And for an owner to spend $1,000 a month per employee, that's when you got 5 employees, that's $5,000-$6,000 a month in insurance. It's going to come out of your pay. You got to pay a percentage of it. People want government jobs where they get 100% because they're union negotiated. Well, guess what? Government, all you have to do is raise taxes. A business can't just raise its prices on everybody to cover everything everybody wants. As a business owner, when you decide to become good luck you having insurance. You're going to go on the healthcare marketplace and you're going to have to get whatever crap insurance is on the healthcare marketplace. Your chances for promotion, 33% are completely satisfied, 31% are somewhat satisfied, 23% are completely satisfied. If you work for a small company of 10 or less employees, the chances for you to be promoted is almost 0. The company isn't growing fast enough for you to get promoted. To what? From CSR 1 to CSR 2, from Tech 1 to Tech 2? To become a lead tech when you only have 3 techs? What promotion are you going to get when you become a business owner? What are you going to give your people? You know what's funny? That the things that most guys complained about when they became owners, when they were employees, now their employees are asking for it. But I can't give it to you. I said, but wait a minute, you were demanding that and you were complaining about it in the groups when you were in the group, when you were an employee. It's not that easy, folks. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. The retirement plan your employer offers, 33% are satisfied, 26% are somewhat satisfied, 27% are dissatisfied. What retirement plan are you going to create? A Roth IRA? How much are you going to put in every month when you become a business owner? The amount of money you earn, 30%, 41% are somewhat satisfied, 28% are dissatisfied. There were for 5 years I paid myself less than I paid everybody around me. Take that pill and swallow it. Oh yeah, but you're building a business. So what? If you're complaining about salary, go ahead and become a business owner and see how much you make your first year. The amount of on-the-job stress in your job, 29%, 37% are somewhat satisfied, 33% are so dissatisfied. Stress is high. It's going to double when you become an owner. If you can't handle stress on the job, you will never handle the stress. Unless your dream is so big that it crushes all the pain and all the suffering and all the things you're going to put your family through when you become an owner, unless your dream is that big, you're never going to make it. But I thought you were trying to motivate me to start my business. No, I'm giving you the reality, bro. Because all those little groups of guys that shows up with his little, my program will show you how to become a millionaire, while he ran out and rented a Lamborghini and he took out $40,000 in cash that he probably got from his dad. He says, I need 40 grand, to do this video. And I like all the guys that are telling me how they're going to make it on crypto. And they don't even have a job. They don't have $1,000 to invest. How they're going to make it on crypto. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. The guys I know that are making it is because they took $20,000, $40,000 out of their business and put it into the market. And yes, they went and invested $20,000, $30,000 and now they got $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. It's not easy to build wealth. It's not easy to build money. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It's because of all the rich people keep me down. I don't consider anybody has kept me down. And I came from nothing. I lived on welfare. I didn't have a father. My father died when I was 5. At 10, I got cancer. My mother raised me by herself. My mother didn't have an education. I don't have a graduate degree. And then people keep asking me, where do I get all my knowledge from? Because where did I get my agronomy degree? Where did I get my degree? How do I understand all this? Oh, because I can read. Why are people with education so astonished that a guy like me, who grew up in Hialeah, has an associate degree, became a tech, surpassed everybody who with bachelor's degrees being a tech, and now owns his own business, and he's doing YouTube videos, and he has more subscribers and more people than they have for their company and the entire state of California has for their IPM program. More people listen to me about IPM than they listen to the state of California, which they're supposed to be the leader in IPM and in eco-friendly, and most people are listening to me. Why? Because I have a big dream. I have disciplines. I have the 12 disciplines. And I talk to these guys that are telling me, but I'm not working right now, and I'm not doing this, and I can't get ahead. And I says, what are you doing between 9 and 2 in the morning? Oh yeah, but I'm not going to work late at night. Well, you don't have the disciplines to be successful. You're not willing to invest in yourself. We're going to be talking about all this in the next couple of weeks. Because why? Because I've got perspective. I've been able to clear my head. I've gotten through you talk about somebody who went through struggles. Lost my mother, divorce, employees. I got a van. that I just bought, about a $48,000 van, brand new. Been sitting there for 4 months because it took us 2 months to get the partition. Nobody had it, including the people who build out these build outs said they couldn't get it. I had to track down the manufacturer, have them custom make it for me, ship it, and had one of these guys install it for me because they couldn't find it. Because I want to build a van out, I'm going to do a build out that nobody's ever done that can handle lawn, termite, and GHB in one vehicle with 4 tanks, 4 reels, a drop tank, backpacks, room for everything, and a high roof van. You should have seen my other truck that we built. I got guys tell me, oh, but my technicians, I'm not going to be, the trucks waste too much gas. I want to go with a van. No, we went with a truck, slide out bed, invested $5,000 into it. Oh, but I'm never going to spend that kind of money. No, you keep treating your people like crap, giving them crappy equipment, complaining about the things your employer never did, and then you go out and start a business and you do the same thing. And then your employees are going to complain about you. I want my people to be comfortable. I want them to be happy. See, the thing is that the things that I'm talking about, that everybody's complaining about, I'm actually doing something about it. It's slow. It takes a lot of my profit. It costs me more, but I'm willing to pay it. What can I tell you, folks? My dream is big. I got big dreams. I got bigger dreams than I will outlive my dreams. My guys don't work Saturdays. They don't work Sundays. As a matter of fact, my technician the other day said, bro, I don't have enough time because I have to take off early. I'll come in on Saturday. I said, look, if you come in on Saturday, that's on you. You tell that client that you're going to do them a favor and not to expect it, because the moment you create and they expect it, it becomes an expectation, you screwed yourself. So if you decide your next week you don't want to work extra hours because you have to take some time off this week, you can have the time off, reschedule it, and not a problem with me. I let people their own start time stop them. They start with, I'm not telling them you got to be there exactly at 8 o'clock in the morning. No, you show up late because we don't set appointments. We have everybody on 2-hour windows. All of our services are completely exterior. We only have to go into maybe 2 to 3 houses a day. Sometimes in the summer it gets higher. Sometimes you got 6 clients that you got to do in a day inside. For the most part, we're capping it off at 11 stops in a day, which he'll get done within 7-something hours. It's more important to build route density. It's more important to build route density. Route density. So that people can do more stops, produce more money for you, get off early, and be home at a decent time. So the things that I talk about and the things you guys are whining and complaining about, I'm actually doing it, but it's a hard road. You got to choose. And being a business owner isn't easy. But can you do it? I don't know. That's up to you. I'm going to give you the 12 Ds. We're going to be discussing them. This is Frank the Pest Geek, wishing you a spectacular day. Oh, long ashes to you.